Hi, my name is Jeff Rhodes, and I'm going to do another video. On this case, we're going to talk about with PowerApps how we can display the user that approved. In our last video, we were able to limit the list or who could access or change an approval checkbox in PowerApps, and now we want to actually grab who that was that did it and put it into our SharePoint list. So as I've mentioned in my other videos, it's my new book, Creating Business Applications with Office 365 Techniques in SharePoint, PowerApps, Power BI, and more. And I'm doing a set of videos to support that. So subscribe, please, and hopefully you can learn something. If you want to pre-order on Amazon, you can see it there, and it should be coming in other online platforms and in your local bookstore. So, all right, let's get started. So we're in Office 365. We're going to go to SharePoint, and we'll pick up where we did in the last video. So I encourage you to look at those. We'll go into Site Contents, and what I've got is this Purchases PowerApps list. And what we did before is we have this Approved by Accounting checkbox where we put up some logic to make sure only people that were in a separate list, the accounting users list, could access that. So what we want to do is we just want to add another one, and I play with this a fair amount. In a perfect world, we'd add like a person column and grab that over, but very much like SharePoint has problems with lookup columns. You might know you can't do a lookup column to a person column. It won't read it right. Also, PowerApps has some similar things where we can work with the person columns, but trying to do, if you may have seen my other video in InfoPath, where we could just have a drop down of the people in that list. It doesn't work as well, but this is pretty close. So instead, we're going to do a single line of text, and we'll just, I'll just call it name of approver here. And we'll use some logic in PowerApps to just set that value for us so we don't have to type it in. All right, so we've got that in there, and then what we're going to do is we're going to customize it in PowerApps, and we'll review real quick what we did the last time, because this one's left over. We basically had an approver checkbox, and we wanted to limit it to only people who were in our accounting users list. So let's review that. We don't need this guy. We're going to add a field in a minute, so I'll leave that. But if we look at our approved by accounting, if we go to display mode, we had this logic. And I'll zoom in there for a minute if I can find my zoom. So we came in here and said, okay, if we're going to count rows, we're going to filter looking for the user email to see if the current user logged in is in that list. And if so, we're going to go ahead and do the parent display mode. Otherwise, we're going to just hard code it to view, which means we can't edit it. So that's what we did before. So let's put that back up there. So what we're going to do now is this is a list of all our fields or columns. So we're going to add a field and get the name of the approver, the one we just added. So put that there, and then I like to drag it up so it's right below the approval checkbox and above attachments there. And the idea, we could disable this and do some more logic, but the short version, we're just going to go in and make it so we automatically set that value when we change this approval. Okay, so what we want to do now, if we think about our logic a little bit, though, we don't want to automatically save it. Like, let's say the accounting people approved it and now I'm somebody else and it's still approved. It was approved in a previous time and I just saved the form. I don't want to change the approver to myself. I only want to do it when the accounting person basically first changed it to be approved. So what we want to do there is we're going to need a global variable, or it could be a context, but in this case we'll use the global variable. So one good place to put this is in the on visible. So it basically says every time we load up that screen. And so this will be our first time for that. So we'll do set, and then we just give it the name of the variable. So I'm going to call it initial approved. And then we say, well, how do we read the value that it was started? So see this SharePoint integration, it's got properties, and that's basically how we read our existing list. So I'm going to call it SharePoint integration dot selected, and then we can say approved by accounting. So what that'll do is be a true or false. So if it's already started true and then we save it and it's still true, we won't do anything basically. Now notice, this is from our different one of the 500 filters. So we need to do anything there. So what we want to do now there's two ways these can work, and it gets a little bit confusing. So to me, what's logical is to come in here and go to like the on change and then start setting this value when this one changes. And I've tried that. You can look it up yourself. It just doesn't work. Instead, what you want to do is you want to go to this guy, to this data card. So notice it's locked. We've talked about that in previous videos. So we're going to unlock this. And so the default is really, you can think of that as like the value. So in PowerApps, when you set the default, that's like setting what text you want. Okay, so let's cut that parent.default. We'll use it, but we want to do some logic. Okay, so we're going to say if, and then we say, and actually let me expand that because we're going to need this up here. So we need to read this guy. See where it's data card value 3. So we could have renamed it, or we can just go with it. So if data card value 3 dot value equals true. So we just turn, well, wait, it's true already, and then we're going to say and. This is where we use our variable, our initial approved. And we could say equals false or not equal true. And so I'll just say it's not equal to true, just in case it's blank or something. Then what do we want to do? Then we want to go ahead and set this value to be the user. Don't worry about that phone. Sorry about that. The user full name. So I'm going to go ahead and set the name. And notice again, I did that quickly. So when I hit the dot, I can see the different choices. All right. Otherwise, what do I do? So this is if that value is not true. Well, I'm going to check one more time. I've got the reversed. So I'll just do another if. And again, do data card value 3 dot value. Now, if that equals false, and the initial approved was previously true, so if somebody disapproved it, and we'll just say to make it parallel, we'll just say not equal to false. Then what do we want to do? Well, we're going to set that, then we're going to clear it. Set it to false, okay? Or to clear. Otherwise, what do we want to do? Okay, and we want it to go, and I've got it in the clipboard, we go all the way back to our parent.default. So we just read what was in there. And so what will happen is all the rest of the time when those two things aren't true, whatever was saved in for that form would be fine. Now I see I've got some sort of, and that's because I need one more parentheses. If you look at it, and we can actually format that so it's a little bit easier to read here. So if the condition, this is what we do when it's true, set its full name, and then this whole condition here is what we do if it's false. So we check that. If it's true, we set it to quote quote, otherwise we use parent.default. All right. And if all goes well, and you can kind of see we get some idea that it's working because it loaded up, since it's true right now in the value when I was editing it, it goes ahead and sets it to my name. So that's looking good so far, but we'll test it. So let's go ahead and save. And we'll publish to SharePoint. Okay, and then we'll go, as I mentioned earlier, when we customize it, it uses our tab. So I like to come in here and whenever we're testing, just add it on its own, and we can reload. So let's just edit this existing one. And what we expect, oh, it's a good thing that happens a lot. See how it doesn't even have our new field there. And then if that happens, don't worry about it. We just need to refresh again. Sometimes it takes a little while to load in our new form. So we'll try that again. Ah, that's better. And notice that it went ahead because it hadn't had a name there already. It went in and put it in. So let's save it. Got my name, that's good. If we edit it again, let's try our test where we uncheck it. Notice that it gets rid of it if we save it. So that's, oops, that's not good. Let's try that again. Must have done so. Oh, I must hit cancel or something. Let's save it. There we go. It went away. Let's try a new one. So I'll just say, whoops. Like a little, oh, there we go. I'm having a little bit of problems getting it. So let's say it's $2,000 or $200. We'll put, not sure what this skip domain content is. So we'll put that in there, and for whatever reason I can't set the title for some reason right now. So let's close that again. I'm not sure what's going on there. Like it locked up our main form, so I'm not quite sure what's going on there. Well, that part works perfectly. I'm a little trouble getting onto our main one to put the title in, which should be required, but let's save it. There we go. Entry is required and has an invalid value. It's like kind of a weird browser thing. There we go. I think I was just zoomed in a little too much. So we'll just call it purchase software. There we go. Now I save it and it's in there. Good. All right. Well, so not too long of a video, but hopefully that will help you with some of the logic. Again, we covered the how to set a global variable and how to do some logic inside there, so that inside a PowerApp, so we could set the value of another field, in this case the name of the approver. So look forward to coming. Don't forget to subscribe, and then we'll see you in a future video. Thank you.